Is this after dark?
We absolutely should.
Well, first, the after dark portion comes from the fact that, yes, this is a bonus episode. Yes, I'm sorry, patrons. It's been a while. It's been possibly months. I am a deadbeat podcast dad. I'm sorry. But we're here with friends of the show, Nora. I just went for cigarettes for a month.
It should be like a self-criticism hour for Sina.
Yeah,
we should do a struggle session.
Struggle session. Well, I do have a lot of struggle. Well, okay. This is a bonus episode. This is with some friends. We are talking about God knows what. The news today is something. Well, Nora, you should tell us because you probably tackled this on the stream today. I didn't watch it, but wait, has the stream happened yesterday?
Well, our stream was yesterday.
Oh, what day is it today?
Yesterday.
It's Thursday? Oh.
Today. Wow.
It's today.
Wow, Sina. Wow.
No, that's true. Wednesday's the stream.
Where are
So
you,
today
Sina?
is Thursday.
I crossed the date line.
Shows how much you keep up with the EI live stream. I see how it is.
Oh, yeah, today's Wednesday.
Detective Rust Cole, that's what he is.
Yeah, it's a flat circle. It's
Yeah.
just all a flat circle. Time means nothing. It's all a concept.
I think though is that this news today though, Thursday, November 21st, we got something of a bit of a surprise. The ICC actually did something. I mean, I guess we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, finally, after, it's been more than 6 months after they said that arrest warrants would be filed or may be filed. They finally filed them. They issued them. We've talked about this on Tankie Group Therapy many times before, where the, international rules-based order is completely dead. We remain skeptical of the International Criminal Court's ability to hold Israel accountable for anything. And also it's like, it's just Netanyahu and Gallant. I mean, it should be the entire Israeli political class, as well as the Biden administration and Germany and Canada and any other country that has aided and abetted this genocide. So I don't know. Like I don't see Netanyahu and Gallant, Biden and Harris for that, and Blinken for that matter, ending up in shackles any day soon. But I mean, maybe this is gonna finally be the thing that, like Canada today, Justin Trudeau, that little fucker.
I may have missed this. I've been in the car all day, so tell me.
He actually said, like, if Israel, if Israeli leaders Netanyahu or Gallant, attempt to come to Canada, we will enforce the ICC.
What? He said that? The little weasel said it?
He said it.
Get out of here.
I know. So like maybe this is the thing.
I have to check this.
Check it. So maybe this is the thing that like Western leaders needed to have in order to finally like separate themselves from this pariah state. But I don't have much faith. Justin, I think would agree.
You weren't lying.
Thank you. What did he actually say? I don't remember the actual quote.
Would abide by international
would
law.
Abide.
Yeah, way to go, right. Justin T. Only took you 13 fucking months.
And also today, Ayelet Shaked, who is the this like top Israeli minister, who's she's one of the worst genociders ever. She was actually prevented from landing in Australia today.
Man, when Australians are rejecting you, you've reached a new low.
If Australians and Canadian politicians are rejecting you, then like
for real.
Maybe, just add it to the list of like the war of attrition that Israel is losing. And this could have only happened, as our comrade Joe said on Twitter earlier today, these arrest warrants could only have happened because of the success of the Palestinian and Lebanese resistance, and the the recognition of what's left of any international legal bodies to say like Israel really is really needs to be stopped. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. I remain completely skeptical.
I mean, that's shocking that Fidel Castro's illegitimate son came through with that statement today. But at the same time, then I don't know if it was the same press conference or a different one today, but he's also picking a fight with Mexico.
Oh, that's right.
Over whatever the new NAFTA is called.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a new NAFTA? How long have I been in the car?
Oh my God, Sina, where have you been? What is happening to you?
What's happening?
What's MC, I don't know. In Spanish, it's like T-MEC.
T-MEC.
T-dash. Yeah, he's mad because Mexico's trading with China.
Right.
And that hurts Canadian workers. So he defended Canadian workers today, and he defended the ICC today. And then other countries as well, right? Like Holland, after their experience with the Maccabi Tel Aviv Ultras.
The Amsterdam pogrom of 2024.
Yeah, never forget.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. This is...
I don't know what's happening.
I just want to see,
crazy.
I want to see if the U.S. will pull off the invasion of the Hague Act, because that act,
that would be amazing.
It's not just to protect U.S. officials. It's written to say like close allies of the U.S. as well. So the U.S. invades Belgium. Oh wait, no, that's one of our close friends who thought the Hague was in the Belgium, but no, it's actually in the Netherlands. But yeah, can you imagine that would be quite the avenging Habsburg Spain, centuries after they got their asses kicked out of the Netherlands. Yeah, it is
crazy. The thing about this, guys, like in all reality, what caused this? It was a group of possibly under 2,000 besieged Gazan commandos. Like 2,000, like 1,400. I think Hamdan. I think Osama Hamdan said 1,400, something like that. A small 1,400, and then combine that with the combined force of the Palestinian people of Gaza, who have been steadfast these 13 months, and the resistance of Gaza, of the Gaza resistance, which is still ongoing every day. They produce more videos every day.
They're I mean, like John was talking about how they're producing new weapons. In
apocalyptic conditions as well, right? I mean,
this may have been the plan all along. I don't know. No one knows Zionists better than the Palestinian resistance. They've lived with them the longest. They've seen every facet of their beings. They know their language. They study their media. So they must surely have known that this genocide was going to be the response, because genocide ultimately is what settler colonial powers have when confronted with the brass tacks of their rule, which is their rule. I mean, I go to this. I brought this up during an interview with Bana and Cody from the Good Shepherd Collective that I did yesterday. And I said, this is Zionists have a fundamental problem. Yes, they can kill, they can bomb, they can starve, they can besiege, but they can't hold Gaza. They can't even hold the north of Palestine. They can't hold the Gaza envelope.
North of Palestine
they don't have the people
gone for Israel.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. So we're at an interesting impasse. Whereas I guess I had totally forgotten the South Africa case. I had written it off because I was like, big surprise. The People's Court of the Axis Resistance will try these things. We'll try these crimes, but we don't need the fake international theater. But if this thing actually means something, then maybe the elites have decided that they've decided to get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, I guess we won't see him get hunted down.
Maybe this is their off ramp. But all the weapons are still flowing. All the political cover. You saw the U.S. State Department press corps cancel their press briefing today because obviously they didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, Matt Miller is just, I don't know what he's doing. Like, I hate to even envision him. I hate to have him in my thoughts at any time. But like, I don't know, like, what was he doing? What was he doing today? Like pacing around the room, like peeling off his skin, and like what a ghoul.
His lizard suit is molting.
His lizard suit. His lizard suit.
He's bad for my mental health.
He's
really bad. I mean, the spokeswoman for the Department of Defense did have a press conference. I watched a clip of it, and it was just like, the U.S. doesn't recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC in this matter.
Right.
It's like, all right.
But we did in those times
that's all they can
before.
say. Yeah.
We did
It's
all
they
those
can
times
say.
before we did.
Well,
This is the
against
funniest-
Russia, obviously.
Against Russia.
Yeah.
Right.
That
right.
was it.
Blinken telling people. Yeah.
Yeah. And against, African leaders that were installed by the West in order to sow chaos and have the West exploit all their resources. And then, so like it's such a joke. But like, I don't know, we're living in fucking weird times. It's so like, this is just weird. Everything is weird. So I don't know, like, I'm skeptical, but I'm also, I don't know, since this is the after dark, maybe maybe I don't know, like maybe some cool shit will start happening. Maybe Israel will finally like exit
from history. I guess there is a bigger issue here, which is the very same liberal international order that we've heard so much about for the last 30 years, 40 years, almost 30 years, let's say, and that during the Cold War was held up as some kind of, paragon of human wisdom, right? Like it was a product of never again, supposedly, right? Like, this is the liberal fiction that we are terrorized and beaten into through all kinds of culture. And the scale of this culture and the scale of this lie of liberalism, which is like, oh yeah, we play by the rules now. I know we didn't all those times before, but now we play by rules. Okay, we mean it. Okay? And then what happened was their precious little ethno-state got hit hard and humiliated. So they said, okay, no more rules. Forget these rules. They don't count. They don't count. And so then you got to realize that it's actually worse that there is no law. Like, if there was actual, like, there's a quote from Javad Zarif from, like, I remember it was during the lead up to Trump ditching the JCPOA, and he was saying, like, it was like this moment of like a liberal was trying to like live, imagine as if like gravity existed and still like fighting to like stay stuck to the ground, because he was saying, like, do we live in a jungle? Do we have laws? And I was like, yeah, man, get with the fucking program. You have a PhD. Don't you know these white people don't follow treaties, Javad Zarif? They do not. They sign deals and then they go back on them. They sign deals with no intention of following them. Like, this has been a recurring, let's say, motif in Indigenous history.
That's how the West
spatial-
operates.
Yeah,
Right.
this is it.
There's a spatial dimension into it, in where they, in a space that they designate as like a frontier, right? And where they say, and like Netanyahu and all these freaks have been saying this, that we are the last, we are like the defense of Western civilization against barbarism and savagery, right? So in that like space of exception, you're allowed to press pause on the liberal international rules or rules-based order, and you can commit genocide, and it's totally fine. There's no contradiction with this little scheme or this little framework that they
will help you in any way you
it actually
need.
does help you.
Shared values, absolutely.
But it's because it's in that particular space that's defined as essentially a frontier, right? I mean, that's what it is. And that's like how we can connect what's going on now to other historical instances. That's like the one of the common threads that leads us back to the inception of the West as this monstrous genocidal project from the very beginning. But it is funny though, because so my initial reaction was to kind of laugh, and I'm like, oh, so Khan, they've been going after this guy for months, right? Like, and there's been reporting over the last few months of like, this guy's been facing like internally a lot of pressure, right? Like from intelligence agencies, from all sorts
Mossad,
of nefarious institutions and individuals. They're cooking up
sexual
charges
harassment
against him, right? And finally, though, they release these arrest warrants, and to see the freak out is really interesting, right? Because my initial reaction is to kind of laugh and be like, oh, whatever, this doesn't mean shit. But it does mean something to the Israelis and to the Israeli leaders when Justin Trudeau Castro says, if you guys come over here, we're gonna arrest you. Like they have a freak out moment. The former minister who couldn't land in Australia, she lost it. Like it was interesting following her online today. Like she didn't. I mean, they always fall back on the same charge, right? ICC is Hamas.
Anti-Semitism, yeah.
All of Australia is Hamas now.
Mm-hmm.
Insult to Hamas.
The law,
seriously.
Hamas.
So it is interesting to gauge their reaction. That despite the fact that they obviously don't follow these rules, and the global South is watching this, like, no, for what it is. Like the global South knows what this entire charade is. But the people who press pause on this thing or just decide to disregard it in certain moments, they're also the ones who freak out when it's the consequences of their actions are brought forth through the very frameworks that they themselves established. So it's easy for us to kind of it's easy for me to mock a thing like this, but then you watch the reactions and they're like, oh, there is something there. Like the fact that these European countries will say, yeah, we're going to follow it. And if these guys show up in our country, we're going to arrest them and do a Pinochet on Netanyahu, which would be amazing, or Gallant.
I mean, how much does it have to do with the fact that Biden has no clue where he is and his regime is done, and the people
he's in the Amazon, he's gone.
Yeah,
he wandered off.
He's gone.
He
that
thought
was
he
it.
got
Like
confused with,
when
like,
a cat.
the life of what's his name? Who was the guy? Who's the German director?
He went
Werner
to look for the
Herzog?
lost city of Z,
Yeah.
and never
That's
he's
right.
never gonna come back.
And then on the same day, he authorized insane missiles to Ukraine to use against Russia. Like he just wants World War III to happen before he croaks.
Mines now, anti-personnel mines now as well.
We do not know who's in control of the U.S. regime. Let's be real, and we, in fact, probably don't. We probably
it's
do
Blinken,
not.
It's Sullivan,
No,
it's all
but
these
those
monsters
guys are.
that have been
But
doing
the thing
this.
is, in American politics,
Clinton.
people jump ship. Right? Like even AOC started jumping ship. Like now that they're out of power, liberals they're slitting each other's throats. They're stabbing each other in the back. And maybe this ICC thing is a way of just signaling let's throw some more wrenches into Trump's presidency. Right now that we have to escalate, and because the current regimes around Europe are no friend of Trump's. Right? Surely this has to cost something. American bellicosity around NATO, around Ukraine. We are in a meth head freak zone, and we're all tweakers now, whether we like it or not. The air is full of methamphetamine, and we are just breathing it in some kind of freak greenhouse.
But okay, so Biden's trip to Peru for this conference was really interesting, right? Because there's all sorts of contrasts that this trip presented. So in addition to this surreal or magical realist moment when he walked into the rainforest,
maybe he had just done ayahuasca or something and had
it would be he probably should, and then never come back. But then there was the China-US competition played out at this conference, right? And China shows up and says, we're building Peru, this mega port. And the U.S. shows up and we're like, oh, we're giving you secondhand diesel trains that Caltrains doesn't want anymore.
And they're selling it. They're selling it to them, I think.
They're selling it. Yeah, Blinken said, we're giving it to you. And they're like, no, they bid on it. They paid $10 million for it. But Blinken was there inaugurating the line or pretending to inaugurate a line saying this is going to help the people of Peru. But the Peruvians bought it. I mean, the contrast there is just striking. And it doesn't help when you have this old doddering man who walks into the jungle. I want to say empire in decline. I don't know, right? The US still has 800 bases around the world, still has a global currency, but whatever. But the people running it right now are not doing too well.
No, to say the least.
And the thing I think about is we're not going to see we'll see some consequences of this. We're watching it right now, right, Sina? Like you said, we're all meth heads now. But some of the consequences of this, we're not going to see for a while, right? And
the trade war, they're going to start an even bigger trade war with China. Excuse me? Like, people are already broke in America. They're going to add even more stress to that relationship. Like, this man is an arsonist.
If they kick out Mexico from NAFTA, Mexico then will just join the rest of Latin America and make China its biggest trading partner. And so now that's going to lead to all sorts of crazy unforeseen consequences, right? Because then that really will fuel this new Cold War. And my poor motherland will be the one of the battlegrounds for this, right? Which is not a good place to be. The history of the Cold War in Latin America kind of shows that. So some of the stuff that terrifies me the most is the stuff that we won't see for 5-10 years, and we are going to see weird shit as fallout.
We didn't bring up the Russian nuclear bombers. Remember that happened yesterday? Like, they sent out their strategic bombers to the border, or did that not happen? That was like one of the many things that happened. But
I
essentially,
think they raised the threat
yeah.
level well, they said it was planned. Well, the Americans said it was a planned raise, not a response to the U.S. saying that that the Ukrainians could use these long distance missiles. And then today the Russians struck back with like apparently a new type of intermediate ballistic missile, which is kind of a big deal. Like, it would be a big deal if there wasn't like 10 other things happening in the world right now. But that's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. I don't know. I don't even know what to think about this. Like, the legacy that Biden is leaving behind, a genocide in Palestine, regional escalation, and then like Ukraine, like shredding Ukraine, for the benefit of like whatever like sliver of hegemonic power NATO has left, like just completely like sacrificing the world for what?
He's gonna go down as like one of the worst. Like,
The
he's
worst,
like on
yeah.
like James Polk level. Like, he's, I mean, in a way, because he didn't represent a rupture from the previous guy he replaced, who supposedly represents some sort of existential fascist threat to America. He was such a fascist that Biden kept the trade war against China, the horrific economic sanctions against Cuba and Venezuela that have had horrific consequences on those countries. And then he's directly complicit in a genocide and fueled a conflict in a country that's lost, I don't know what percentage of its male population, that they have to pull these dudes off of the street to go force them to fight. Like, this is one of the worst, like top 5 worst presidents.
And he'll never be held. He's not going to go to the dock in The Hague, like he's not, his legacy still, like, he like, who knows how much cognitive, like, ability he has left, but like, he'll never know how responsible he is for the millions of deaths and like just rampant destruction of many different regions around the world, and like here in the US, like just unbelievable amounts of just awful domestic policy and like enabling and emboldening the far Christian right in this country. And then and like they'll still like build a library in his honor, and he'll be like, vaunted.
He's gonna be dead by then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
he's gonna go out
heinous.
He's gonna go out like Colonel Kurtz, but he's gonna be saying like, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. Like the thing that he told the president of Israel when, like,
I'm a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
That's when he comes alive.
Yeah, that was it.
When the president of Israel showed up like last week, his eyes got all bright.
Yeah.
And
he's like lucid. Yeah, totally.
Well, because they pumped him full of something. The guy is like, he is a walking pharmaceutical.
But he also pumps himself.
Zionism. He pumps
himself full of Zionism, full of like genocidal, like hatred toward Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims in general. Like, he's so sick.
And in that, he's not that far off from most U.S. presidents, right? Like the way
continuing the tradition.
What you were describing, Nora, is like, that's just like peak all right, I know I shouldn't say this because I was told this week that this is a racial slur, but it's peak like gringo, like political leadership. Like they all, I mean, that's to be a senator or a presidential cabinet member or the president of the United States. Like you have to be able to not give a shit about most of humanity on this planet, including most of humanity in the country that you are elected to run. Right. And then you just get to move through the world, not worrying about the consequences of your genocidal exploitative actions. And that's like, he's not unique in that, right? Like to every US president, every US senator, every US cabinet member, it's just, that's part of what being an empire is, right? Like you don't have to worry about that. I mean, I just finished teaching the Sandinista revolution this week to my students. And we were talking about these poor students had to listen to all these massacres, right? That the US financed and were directly complicit in Central America in the 80s. And we made a connection with, once the US kind of pulled out militarily after in the 1990s, the US thought that it was over. But then you get like migrants and refugees who are fleeing the consequences of these decisions beginning in 2010, like unaccompanied minors. And the USO acts like, wait, where are these people coming from? Why are they coming here? Why are these quote unquote caravans coming to invade the United States? And it's just like that naivete and that like historical amnesia. You have to have that to be an empire. And you have to have that definitely to be any sort of like powerful political figure in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like Kamala Harris. Remember, she was like, do not come. Do not come.
Do not come. You can't say that to Guatemala. You guys sponsored a genocide of over 100,000 people. You helped a military dictatorship wipe out more than 600 villages off the face of this earth. You cannot go to the country and say, do not come. What? I mean,
A genocide that Israel was heavily involved in.
Yes, totally. Yeah. I mean, I kind of have to tiptoe around that to a certain extent when I'm teaching it. I have to be very careful. But yeah, no, totally. Especially in Guatemala. That was the one area where they had the most influence, where they were borrowing their whole thing of like strategic hamlets and model villages were, given to them by Israeli trainers. Yeah, totally.
I mean, guys, here's my question. I mean, the decline is so ugly right now, and one of the responses is this increased um, terrorization of the media, of those tiny sliver of people who are speaking back in any way around this, terrorizing professors, NGOs. Our friend Charlotte Cates got her house raided. I mean, their StreamYards basically rewrote their terms of service because of electronic intifada, like in order
I
to
don't
sort of
know.
basically to haunt you guys in the sense that like maybe Hassan,
to haunt a lot
like,
of yeah.
like there's not that many of us who are actively working in our self-made platforms too, right? Like all of us, we like think of the scale of the war that we're fighting, at least in the infosphere. We're not billionaires. All of us have day jobs, most of us at least. You find yourself kicked off of socials, you get your posts deleted, you have to, as Alex just said, you have to watch everything you say, you have to like inculcate a sense of paranoia into yourself. And this is as the perpetrators of this genocide are recording themselves every minute of every day of while they do it, you're not allowed to say it, right? And so like
They're the ones who are unsafe.
And it's still relatively okay for the the axis of genocide right now. It's still going relatively okay. But my question is, what happens when it starts going really, really ugly? Like, do we just get nuked, all of us? Like EI, EIP, like all of us. Do we just get nuked one day the way they do that to other channels so gleefully?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, they're trying, right? They're really trying. And I mean, we can talk about like the this is the consequence that we've always talked about in terms of letting these like nasty private multi-billion-dollar multinational companies be the arbiters of free speech, and this is the landscape that we're in. I don't know. I mean, it's I it's hard to hold that anxiety in my head while it's so full of other anxieties. But I think we should all be, taking steps to,
Just breathe the meth air,
yeah,
as
I'll
Tina
just
said.
breathe
That'll
the meth air.
relax. That'll put the anxieties down.
That's good. Nice callback.
We can't worry. I mean,
What good is it to worry?
right.
Because,
Yeah,
like,
that's
we
what I was
have
gonna say.
no,
Yeah.
collective power in this situation. We're governed by these, like, private companies, and governments that are just capitulating to them instead of holding up the rights that we are supposedly enshrined to have. What good is worrying if we just keep doing our work?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for a platform like EI, yeah, I mean, that's all you guys can do. And I mean, it's also, I don't know, the fact that you guys are a target says something about the impact that you guys are having, right? So it's also it's relational in that aspect, right? I mean, they're not just taking randos off, right? I mean, there's also like a one thing to like cancel us on like Twitter. Well, fine, we'll live, right? But like, there's another thing to eliminate these channels on a platform like YouTube that are reaching, tens of that. Like, we need like, like I'm not the only. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I usually are not and am not able to watch you guys live on Wednesdays, but I'm watching it like on the way home from teaching, and I'm like listening to it in the car, and it's such a like powerful, I don't know, like anytime Abu Bakr's on, like I'm just like trying to hold it together, right? Like, so the fact that you guys are able to platform these type of voices, these incredibly brave journalists and people on the ground in Palestine or in other places, the fact that they're coming after you guys for a reason, and that's also speaks to they're losing, because usually if in a Gramscian sense, right, like a government would want to use less coercion and more persuasion, right, to keep up the fiction that we do live in some sort of democracy. The fact that we're seeing more and more of their fangs means that they're losing. The fact that they're having to resort to more repressive acts, like what happened to the Samadoun, Charlotte Keys, Kate's. I mean, that's like unbelievable, right? Like, that is unreal what happened, and this has happened to other individuals as well. The fangs are out for a variety of reasons, but they're losing this argument. And we've talked about this before. The problem is that, like, and I think the other folks have said this before too. They still have the institutions, but they're losing the streets, they're losing the communities, they're losing the people, right? And I think polls, at least in the U.S., bear that out. So the fangs have to come out. And we, with Mara Finkelstein, like the shit that she went through, it's unbelievable. Like, I watched your interview with her, Nora, and it's how like how they based the decision to fire her, what that decision was based on, is just so utterly flimsy. But again, it's because there's a recognition that they're losing this argument. So what do they have to use in that regard? Well, they have power, repression.
Right. Yeah. And it's and in some yeah, like as you say, like it's it rips off the facade of Western academia, like the ivory towers, these bastions of free thought and and critical thinking and curiosity and all of this. Like, and no, like as we've said before, like they're just hedge funds at the end of the day. They're just there to make themselves money and collect money from influential donors. And it doesn't matter if they fire someone who has tenure over basically her own politics that are anti-genocidal and anti-racist. um they would, institutions like that would rather pay a settlement and some fancy lawyers than actually do the right thing and stand up against these, like, these thugs, these donor thugs.
Because
But
how do you defend genocide, right?
how
Like
do
you
you
just
defend
said,
it?
we are the anti-genocide position. So these institutions have to defend genocide, and that takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of time. And the fact that they're again losing will just they'll be more repressive. They'll spend more money. they'll try to shut up people like Nora. Like it's so but we can't, we can't control that. So we just
But
have to
we
be
can
prepared.
prepare
This
for
is just
it.
a struggle, right? And we can prepare for it. We can continue to speak out because even though people are, and I see it where I work in my community, people are still, even though they're like on the anti-genocide side, they're still really nervous to speak out. They're still really nervous about, and these are folks with protections, and they're still like a little hesitant, or they don't know how to manage the situation, even though they're on the anti-genocide side. So I don't know. I think part of what perhaps we do is maybe encourage people to say, fuck that. Because they're going to come after you whether you're quiet or not, right? Like, especially if you're at a university, right? They'll get you on something else. Because again, they have to defend the genocide side, and that's really difficult.
So I guess the lesson is prepare yourselves, folks, for some more liberal international disorder. And I do
And
think
know your
we
rights.
are,
Like we
yes.
said at the end of the live stream, like you don't have to open the door and let the cops inside. You don't have to say a word to cops, feds. You still have a modicum of rights in this country, in this shithole country.
For
Use
now.
them. For now.
For now. Yeah, we're not headed in a good direction. But it's interesting that this is one of the, again, being on the anti-genocide side is what's pushing them, or it's one of the main factors that's pushing them to be just outright fascistic. Because again, I think that's all they have in order to defend this, in order to defend anti-migrant policies that are responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people who are on the move because of climate change or because the U.S. or other imperial powers are destabilizing their countries. Like, we're going to be in for some really challenging times. So yeah, Sina, we prepare, not like bunkers and stuff. Like, I don't know what you're doing, Sina, your strategy.
Sina has like a
Yeah.
grain silo like the
tuna.
Mormons have.
I got 60 cans of peaches in a jar.
We're all going to Sina's house when shit gets ugly.
Yep.
Only Tankie Therapy alumni. That's the real test.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's late. Thank you so much. This was fun. Thank you, patrons. It's been 6 years. I didn't mark the birthday of East is a Podcast, but thank you. If you're listening to this, you're a patron and you're the best. And actually, you guys are the second best. The best are my friends who do these episodes constantly. You guys do great work, and you do this above and
What
beyond.
about if we're both? That makes us like the best, right?
Exactly. We're like
we're like
patrons.
platinum tier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, why do I even do this? This is all for you. But you guys are the best. Thank you, listeners. Thank you to everyone. And I'll have this out quick,
guys.
I think, what should we call it? Oh, we're all in the meth head. We're all meth heads now. Something like that.
We're all meth heads now.
We're in the meth. We're in the meth house.
So bleak.
Now is the time for meth
prepared.
heads.
I don't know. God.
All right, dark. Take care. I'm gonna stop.
Bye.
Ooh, that's fun.